Hey you lot, and welcome to another episode of News Matter Missed. I'm your host Tom Lord, and on this show we look at a mighty mix of eclectic excerpts ranging from news outlets, blogs and tabloid rags based around the globe. On today's show we've got a cat survives a journey of 1,000 kilometres after an accidental Amazon postal return, data has revealed that 1 in 10 Finns have dropped their phone in the toilet, and a service dog has had to be removed from an Ontario home after it got too fat. But first, American Airlines keeps mistaking a 101-year-old passenger for a baby. According to the BBC, a 101-year-old woman keeps getting mistaken for a baby because of an error with the airline's booking system. The problem occurs because American Airlines systems apparently cannot compute that Patricia, who did not want to share her surname, was born in 1922 rather than 2022. The BBC themselves actually witnessed the latest mix-up, which she and the cabin crew were able to laugh off. She said, "It was funny they thought I was only a little child, and I'm an old lady." But the centenarian has said that she'd like the problem to be fixed, as it's caused her some real problems in the past. For example, on one occasion, airport staff did not have the right transport ready for her inside the terminal, as they were expecting a baby who could be carried. But the former nurse who flies every year to see family and escape the cold winters said that on the both occasions it had happened, staff at American Airlines were kind and helpful, in spite of the confusion. And she is adamant that the IT problems will not put her off flying, and says she's looking forward to her next flight in the autumn. This is a bit like the Millennium Bug, where the date rolled over and computers couldn't handle it. Imagine though if the world actually ended as predicted New Year's Eve 1999. My Tamagotchi would have died knowing its owner loved it, rather than the sad demise it actually experienced as the Poundland battery my dad bought leaked into its computer brain. The circle of life. A cat has survived the journey of 1,000 kilometres after an accidental Amazon postal return. This is the cat in question. According to NOS, Galena's owners started looking for the cat in early April because they couldn't find her anywhere. They posted a message on Facebook, but the search was unsuccessful. Carrie Stevens Clark's message said, "We searched everywhere for a week, and in every corner of the neighbourhood. We even made posters." But it was an employee of Amazon in Los Angeles who finally found the cat in one of the returns boxes almost a week later. Galena the cat was hidden in a large box containing 5 shoe boxes, but the package centre itself was nearly 650 miles away from her home in Utah. The Amazon employee who found her said she was extremely scared and stressed from the long journey. An employees tried to feed her, but because of the stress she did not eat or drink anything. The employee then called the vet, who was able to scan Galena's chip and identify the owners. Galena's owner said, "At first I didn't believe the vet, but she must have gotten into the package without us knowing." And even though Galena had been without food and water for more than 6 days, the vet said she was in good condition. A great outcome for this feline in the end then, as curiosity nearly did kill the cat. But to be honest, I always just thought Amazon returns just got incinerated. That or they all just got minced up and used as like foundation for one of Jeff Bezos' homes. Singapore Airlines have been ordered to pay $3,580 to a customer after their recliner seats didn't work. According to the Straits Times, Mr. Ravi Gupta, Director General of Police in India's Telangana state, was travelling with his wife on May 23, 2023 in business class, but found that their seats could not recline electronically. Mr. Gupta said that the malfunction had caused them inconvenience, and he had to stay awake during the almost 4-hour flight, despite paying 133,500 rupees in total for the plane's tickets. He made a complaint to the District Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, which ordered Singapore Airlines to return 97,500 rupees to the couple, along with an interest charge of 12% from the date of the complaint. The airline apparently would have to also bear the cost of 100,000 rupees for the duo's mental agony and physical suffering, along with paying 10,000 rupees to cover the cost of the complaint. This total sum amounts to around $3,500. I took a flight to Jeddah once and the air conditioning didn't work. I didn't have a temperature gauge, but I was moist in unspeakable places. And do you know what compensation I got? An ice cream. An ice cream that gave me the runs. "Oh, I couldn't sleep. Oh, it was so terrible, I couldn't sleep." Shut up. A Colorado judge has sentenced a serial lawsuiter to 12 years in prison. According to the Courthouse News Service, a Colorado judge on Wednesday handed a 12-year prison sentence to a man found guilty of threatening and harassing judges in the state. Using tactics popularised by the sovereign citizen movement, complete nut jobs, Nelson filed fraudulent motions for default judgments and powers of attorney against court staff and judges overseeing criminal and domestic cases where he was a defendant. Nelson also filed fake quitclaims deeds in an attempt to seize property he did not own. The FBI labels such acts as paper terrorism and characterises sovereign citizens as a domestic terrorist movement that causes all kinds of problems. For example, many sovereign citizens don't pay taxes. As a side note, Nelson himself often signed his legal complaints on behalf of the House of Nelson, sovereign of the court, and his official seal resembled a paw print with a mountain range carved along the bottom and rays of sunlight emanating from the top. I think if you bring frivolous lawsuits, they should put you in the stocks for a bit. A bag of tomatoes launched at your face and a bit of public humiliation would sort them right out. Plus, if you do it on the high street, people would go there for a purpose other than urinating in a shop doorway. Data has revealed that 1 in 10 Finns have dropped their phone in the toilet. According to Pulhelin Vertelju, oh god, I've murdered that, a company called Lally Topalia has commissioned a survey regarding broken phones. And according to the Arje Katsus survey, almost 2/3 of Finns have broken their phones at some point. And even 1 in 10 have said that their phone had fallen into the toilet bowl. Lally Tapiola is an insurance company. According to the report, last year broken phones were the most common damage covered by Lally Tapiola's home insurance policies. In total, phone breakdowns were compensated for around €5.5 million. With 37% of respondents saying that the most common reason for the phone breaking was falling on a hard surface, with the second most common being the phone getting wet in one way or another, with 9% saying the phone had fallen into the sea, lake, or other natural water, and 6% had dropped the phone into a drink or spilled a drink on the phone, with 11% saying that their phone got wet in another way, for example in the rain. Who hasn't dropped their phone into the toilet? Also, who hasn't dropped their pot noodle drunk as a skunk into the toilet and then pulled it out and ate it, hoping none of the toilet water got in? Not this guy. A man has been convicted of involuntary manslaughter of his own dad after he told police he was baptising him. According to ABC News, a Massachusetts man who told police he was exorcising a demon and performing a baptism when he shoved his father's head under water multiple times has been convicted of involuntary manslaughter in his death. A jury found Jack Callahan, 22, guilty on Thursday following an 8-day trial, and he's scheduled to be sentenced on May the 3rd. In June 2021, police in Duxbury got a call that Callahan, then 19, was behaving erratically, and that his father, Scott Callahan, 57, was missing near a pond in a park. Prosecutors said that police found Jack Callahan at home, distraught and hyperventilating. Fire department officials then found Scott Callahan submerged in the pond at about the same time. Investigators said that the younger man was at first trying to help his father, who had left a centre where he was being treated for alcohol abuse, but then the two began fighting. But Jack Callahan, who pleaded not guilty, said he told police back in 2021 that he believed his father was possessed by a demon and he needed to be baptised and exorcised. But this information was not included at the trial. Why? I thought when exorcising a demon they sort of get a priest and do the whole power of Christ bit from The Exorcist. I mean, if you're going to make mad stuff up, then make it convincing. At least rent a room and scatter a load of vomit around. Alabama lawmakers have advanced a bill which could mean the prosecution of all librarians. According to AP News, Alabama lawmakers on Thursday advanced legislation that could see librarians prosecuted under the state's obscenity law for providing harmful materials to minors. According to the article, this legislation comes amid a soaring number of book challenges, often centred around LGBTQ content, and efforts in a number of states to ban drag queen story readings. According to Republican Arnold Mooney, this is an effort to protect children. It's not a Democratic bill. It's not a Republican bill, it's a people's bill to try and protect children. But someone who's not a complete onion, Chris England, a Democrat from Tuscaloosa, said, this process will be manipulated and used to arrest librarians that you don't like. And not because they did anything criminal, it's just because you disagree with them. And another Democrat from Birmingham said he was concerned that the bill's language would allow someone to target and harass people who might be dressed up in Halloween costume or wearing summer clothing that someone considered too revealing. He said, I feel like this is a violation of the First Amendment, and it's going to be easily abused. Are certain parts of America going backwards on purpose? Is it going to be a thing where you fly into a state and it's like Brigadoon only with V8 pickup trucks and automatic weapons? Did I get it wrong? Was Deliverance a documentary? 3 women have contracted HIV from vampire facials. According to CBC, 3 women who were diagnosed with HIV after getting a vampire facial at an unlicensed New Mexico medical spa are believed to be the first documented cases of people contracting the virus through a cosmetic procedure using needles. The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said in its morbidity and mortality report last week that an investigation into the clinic from 2018 through 2023 showed it apparently reused disposable equipment intended for one-time use. And although HIV transmission from contaminated blood through unsterile injection is a well-known risk, the report said this is the first documentation of probable infections involving cosmetic services. And a vampire facial, or platelet-rich plasma microneedling procedure, involves drawing a client's own blood, separating its components, then using tiny needles to inject plasma into the face to rejuvenate the skin. The spa was closed in fall 2018 after the investigation was launched, and its owner was prosecuted for practicing medicine without a license. Vampire facials, I mean, that sounds not right just from the offset. Gives me images of some 2-week trained beautician sucking on your face to rejuvenate your youth. Or the other image of Count Dracula, a struggling actress, and the incognito window of Google Chrome. A Mexican man bought 2 pairs of incorrectly listed $12,000 Cartier earrings for $24. According to RTL News, due to an error by the renowned jewellery house Cartier, a Mexican doctor received earrings that were listed for €12,000 per set, but only for €12. He bought 2 sets, and so for €24, he found a right bargain. Rogelio Villarreal didn't know what he saw when he discovered the incredible opportunity on Instagram. Due to a typo, Cartier had offered the gold and diamond earrings for 237 pesos on its website, where it should have been 237,000 pesos. The man wasted no time and immediately ordered 2 sets of the jewellery, but Cartier had no intention of delivering and said it was an obvious mistake. The company then tried to change the man's mind and abandon the purchase, including by offering a bottle of champagne and some accessories, but Mr. Villarreal did not agree. That led to a months-long legal tug-of-war, in which Villarreal had the Mexican Consumer Authority behind it, and that helped in the end, because Cartier took his money and sent the jewellery to the Mexican buyer last week. And according to the Consumer Authority, companies must adhere to the published prices. If they make a mistake, it's not the buyer's fault. This exact thing happened with me buying a printer once, and I got a whole £5 English off the website price. Later that day, Alan Sugar, who heard about this, rang me up, and next thing I knew I was head of a FTSE 100 company. Long story short, I lost it all on a professional Jenga contest, and spent the next 6 years paying off my debt by cleansing urinal cakes in Euston Station. A service dog has had to be removed from an Ontario home after it got too fat. According to SueToday.com, the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal said that national service dogs did not discriminate when it took a pet from a Mississauga home where it was a companion animal to an autistic girl. Adjudicator Ramona Gananathan came to that decision last week, 2 years after Sammy the service dog was taken from the Mississauga home where he'd been living as a companion animal since 2018. When Sammy the dog entered the home in 2018, he was 83 pounds, but the dog got to a peak weight of 129 pounds. And that's when the National Service Dog staff intervened to begin to try and work with the family to reduce the dog's weight. The tribunal said that the Cambridge-based organisation's eventual decision to remove its dog from the home was reasonable after several years of engaging with the family to properly feed, arrange play dates and walk Sammy. In one letter, the organisation said, "It is critical that Sammy gets his body moving." Gananathan in her decision said, "I find that the family was unable to walk the dog or exercise it consistently, and ultimately the applicant's family withdrew from the accommodation process by ceasing communication with national service dogs. And based on the totality of this evidence, I find that the applicant's disability was not a factor in the respondent's decision to remove the dog from the family home." To be fair, it's only like renting a van. You have to adhere to the terms set out in the rental agreement. Like me that time. But in my defence, it never said anything about not running a meth lab in the back of that Transit. Not a scratch on it, but a bit of toxic waste and someone's getting a lifetime ban. A little girl complained about the sound of monsters in her bedroom, and it actually turned out to be 60,000 bees. According to the BBC, when 3-year-old Sailor Class began complaining of monsters in her bedroom, her parents thought it was just a figment of the child's overactive imagination. But then a beekeeper discovered tens of thousands of honeybees above the girl's bedroom. Sailor had complained of monsters in the wall of her room at their farmhouse in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her mother, Ashley Massey's class, and her husband thought nothing of it. They had after all just shown their daughter the Pixar movie Monsters, Inc. Her mother said, "We even gave her a bottle of water and said it was monster spray so that she could spray away any of the monsters at night." But over the following months, the girl became more insistent, and it began to make more sense when her mother noticed bees swarming in clusters near the attic and chimney outside their 100-year-old house. They then contacted a beekeeper, and the beekeeper brought a thermal camera to scan the walls of the 3-year-old's bedroom. The beekeeper then opened the wall to reveal a large honeycomb, and the bees came pouring out like a horror movie. And apparently they removed between 55,000 and 65,000 bees, and 45 kilograms of actual honeycomb. But the bees have been now relocated to a honeybee sanctuary. Quite a balls up by the parent on that one. Good job they caught the bees in time though. The kid could have ended up being queen of all bees, launching bees around the world to become the head of an entire bee empire, and they would all have to marry a bee and have beehive mortgages, or you know, just kill the kid, you know, either or. A woman has turned up to a hospital scan only to be informed she's already dead. According to the BBC, Bridlington hospital staff told Susan Johnston, according to their records, she'd been dead for 4 months. The muddle meant the 62-year-old's care allowance for looking after her disabled husband Bob briefly stopped. NHS England said it was aware of an issue involving an incorrect civil death registration, later rectified by the patient's GP. Mrs. Johnson from Scarborough attended her hospital appointment in March 2023, and the mother of 2 said, "I gave them my letter, and their first words were, 'Ooh, you're dead.' Apparently then they put something on the computer so that she could have the scan, and then they just said, 'Bye.' She then contacted her GP and was told the mistake had been fixed. However, when she contacted the DWP, the call handler said, 'On the computer, you're dead.' She said, 'I'm not, I'm still talking to you.' But although her benefits have now been reinstated, Mrs. Johnson is still unclear as to how the mistake happened and who was responsible. I love these already dead stories, like, can you imagine the receptionist looking in horror at what's supposed to be a dead person and then all that self-doubt? Janice? Can you see this woman, or have I gone completely Bruce Willis? Wedding guests get a shock when what looks like a cow in a field turns out to be a furry taking pictures. According to The Sun, the guests shared the wedding drama in a viral TikTok video. She filmed her best friend as she sauntered down the grass field in her white wedding dress with her father and 2 bridesmaids who held the train behind her. But she was very much distracted. She said, "When your bestie is walking down the aisle and you realise that cow on the other side of the lake is in fact not a cow," in the video, she panned off to the field across the water, where, true to her word, there was what appeared to be a cow in the distance. But the cow, she explained, was actually a human in a costume. She said, "It was just a furry hanging out in the field. That just happens to be right behind the altar where they're taking photos." The furry then walked closer and started playing paparazzi as the person in the costume started to take photos. One TikTok viewer said, "Nothing on earth could have prepared me for this." And another person said, "This may be in fact the first time I've seen somebody have an experience nobody else has." Wait, was that not just mega creepy? Surely that deserved a kick-in from family and friends, or was it booked by the bride, or was it just some loony bin with a wedding fetish? There are some questions to be answered here, but perhaps also ones I don't want the answer to. A man is fighting the cancellation of a gym membership after staff said he loitered too much. According to RNZ, Arthur Eagle, whose membership has now been cancelled, claims a clause stating that all memberships include unrestricted access was not followed and he was deliberately discriminated against. But the gym manager has a different story. He claims Eagle broke several gym rules and was loitering, leaving no choice but to terminate his membership. According to the article, Eagle signed up for a 1-month membership at Flex Fitness in Hastings to increase his fitness before he embarked on a series of hikes. But he said it soon became clear he was not welcome after his exercising patterns and actions, often late into the night and in at least 2 cases, all night, were scrutinised by staff. He said he was told his presence was making other members feel uncomfortable, but claimed he was minding his own business and not breaking any rules or codes. But gym manager Marion Hemingston said staff members had spoken to Eagle several times about what he described as highly unusual behaviour within the gym. But Hemingston said, "Unfortunately, Those conversations were not constructive and he did not agree to comply. Therefore, due to violating these rules, we had no option than to terminate his membership. Hemmingson further went on to say, when he did exercise in the gym, it was nowhere near the entire time of his stay. And some early mornings where he spent time in the gym, he did not exercise for many hours at a time. Our gyms are not a place for loitering, they are a place of exercise. I feel like the unwritten rules of gyms are, you have to be doing gym stuff, like cycling or taking thirsty pics for Instagram or crying in the toilets that your missus has run off with the legs, bums and tums instructor. I didn't even know she liked women. Ex-British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was turned away from voting due to a voter ID law that he introduced. According to RTL News, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was turned away from a polling station when he tried to cast his vote in the local elections. According to British media, he did not have the correct identification with him, but he himself had tightened the laws for identification during his tenure as PM. Sky News wrote that Johnson, who was Prime Minister of Great Britain from 2019 through to 2022, did not have an ID card with a photo when he wanted to vote in the South Oxfordshire district. This has been mandatory since 2022, a change in the law introduced by Johnson himself. This change in the law led to a lot of criticism at the time because it would lead to additional costs, especially for poorer people and migrants. But according to the Johnson administration, this was needed to combat voter fraud. And a spokesperson for Johnson would neither confirm nor deny that the former Prime Minister was turned away. He did though say that Johnson managed to cast his vote that same day. Pretty stupid really, but who'd have thought it? A law designed to discriminate against the poor also affects stupid rich tosspots. Now if only there was a law to stop anyone who wants to become a politician being able to. I feel like that alone should bar you from being one. Why not a random lottery? I'm sure John from Accounts could be Secretary of Defence. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe if you do so fancy. Also if you think there's any news that we might have missed, please get in contact on the email in the description below. See you next time for another jam-packed news you might have missed. Stay gravy.